There's something weird about the video games released in today's age. They don't feel like real games that gamers play. It seems like they are geared more towards the masses. The games have been narrowed to the most bare-bones gameplay experiences to make the casual gamer feel like they're good at it. Now, to understand this right's origins, we have to go back to 2009. Almost every game released before that time was still good. It wasn't shovelware, it wasn't ingenuine. It was a real game that the developers worked hard to do. Now, what exactly did happen in the year 2009? First, let's start with the gameplay. In modern games, the controls are too easy and unrealistic. Just look at this gameplay of Super Mario Galaxy. It looks like Mario is a 5,000-kilogram rock. The way he moves and stops instantly, there is no real weight to it. Imagine if in real life you ran downhill really fast and then decided to stop halfway. You would gradually decrease your speed and then stand still. You don't just stop moving right away. Now, I know what you're thinking. Video games are not supposed to be realistic, that's what you're shouting. But really, that's a sort of loony argument. Because that element makes the game more difficult and thus makes it more challenging and therefore more fun. Just look at Mario 64. Look at the way Mario moves like a real person. And when you manage to survive a challenging platform segment, you feel like a master, because now you have actually done something impressive. Being a glitchy physicalist mess is not something to be proud of. When creating an open-world game, why are the worlds always so empty? Why are the developers creating a world that is the size of a real-world country that has nothing in it? Do they really think that the players are impressed by all the copy-pasted cardboard trees and bushes? Is this a post-apocalyptic world? I mean, some games do use it as an excuse, but even so, it's not interesting. When I want an open-world game, I want a game full of secrets, fun places, enemies, missions, and no. Having these things spaced after every 10 kilometers is not enough. They have to be everywhere. And the way to handle it is to make the world smaller. Just look at this old indie game Sleepless Hollow. It's full of interesting places to go, and it never feels like you are wasting your time. Game developers really only care about their marketing slogans. And because open-world games are hip now, they're doing the bare minimum work and then advertise it as a grand adventure. Grand adventure of absolute nothingness. Sad. You know, maybe I'm too harsh with all these new games. They can't be all that bad. Let's give one a chance, alright? Okay, powering on the system. What the fuck is this? Where's the game? I am in some kind of alternate dimension and I have to find a way out. Wait. There it is. Now I can finally start gaming, pressing start. Can you fucking let me play already? This is the problem with the new games. I am not even able to give them a chance, because the makers try to do their best to not let me play. Check out this game. That's it. I'm already in the game and it took less than 5 seconds. Actually, I kind of can sympathize with the modern developers. Maybe they are just ashamed of the modern games, so they try to stall as much as possible so that they have time to go 1 kilometer into the distance and plug their ears and pretend that this abhorrent reality of modern gaming is not real. Remember how I talked about the 2009 thing? Well, here is a perfect example. Do you remember the game New Super Mario Bros.? The game that returned Mario back to its roots after several years in 2006. Then 2009 happened and they released New Super Mario Bros. Wii. What changed? Sure, I could talk about the multiplayer and the bubbles, but the worst thing is the Super Guide block, the start of the notorious slump. The Super Guide block makes a CPU player complete the level for you after you have died 8 times in the same level. Basically, the game gives you a middle finger. every death and coming closer to the goal, the developers will just treat you like a baby. A baby who claps and screams of happiness after hearing the victory jingle. Context doesn't matter. Now, I know that there's this one Sony fanboy in the audience crying that of course the game treats you like a baby, because the game is a baby game, it's a baby game for babies. That makes sense, right? Makes sense to delusional slaves who only see the surface, even ignoring the fact that Mario games are actual games compared to Sony games, and they will come back to that. It's just not true. Look at Grand Theft Auto 5. Same shit. This is a large-scale disease that will only get worse as the time goes on. So, my favorite movies is probably Christmas to the Moon and Back, and my least favorite is Last of Us. What's that? Do I hear a Sony pony brawling voice in the distance? If it's not a movie, what is it? It is not a video game, since all you're doing is walking around and over 50% of the product is cutscenes. This is a serious problem with video games these days. They are just interactive movies full of quick-time events. This is what Sony and many other companies see as the future of the video game industry. They went from actual games to these movies again to just appeal the masses to get more money. There is no pride anymore involved. Another thing they do is telling everything and not leaving anything to the players to discover by themselves. Nowadays, when you discover something in a game, there's some fucking annoying character explaining everything in unnecessary detail. I remember when Yooka-Laylee was first released, I was so annoyed when they always showed what the world looked like when I entered it. I always closed my eyes when it happened. I don't want a museum tour of the place. I want to go in blind and explore it myself. However, that is not so bad, because you can close your eyes, but after some time they released a new update. An update that reveals where every world is located in the hub world with signs. You are not allowed to think by yourself anymore. Everything has to be told so that there's not a single retard who may be upset that everything is not handed to them on a silver platter. Isn't it great that it is autumn now, and soon it will be winter? We're all tired of all that heat and sun. It's more fun to play games when the weather is cooler. What the third's tale? What is all this light? Did the developers stumble on the light switch in the 2009 and never bothered to change it back? Just look at Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, for example. It looks like they only created one lightning model to Mario to the most brightest stage and reused that in every level. Even generally, all the modern games are so bright and washed out. There's no contrast in colors. It's just a big mess. Now, if you look at some games released before 2009 like Melee or Sonic Adventure 2, you can see that the colors are so vibrant and lively. Which brings me to another thing. Graphics. The irony of technology advancing to these incredible levels, yet the games look worse than they've ever looked before. There's no originality in the games look anymore. They just look like real-life humans and environments. Now, I know that these so-called core gamers are easily impressed by there being a realistic reflection on a sweat drop, and they love to brag to other people about it. But, is that really the hill you want to die on, Sony fans? You experience real-life places all the time, and when you play video games you want to see those same places again? As long as you brainless carcasses keep preaching about graphics, the video games will remain the same unimaginative shells. Actually, it's not just about games looking realistic. If you look at old video games, you see all those amazing looking sprite games with the lively animations. But then, after 2009, all the pixel art games have ended. Even all the second games have third models now and it looks ugly as shit. The same thing happened to animated movies too. Just look at Disney's old animations, how lively they are, and look at what they are showing at the television now. This uncanny, washed out, dull-looking, terrible voices having shows makes me want to kill myself. Well, at least we can all still play old quality games and just ignore that these new games after 2009